Like a massive amount of thinking, like truly stupendous amount of thinking has gone into sex without purpose, without procreation, which is actually quite a silly action in the absence of procreation. It's a bit silly.
Well,
so why are you doing it? Because it makes the limbic system happy. That's why.
That's why.
But it's pretty absurd.
So I'm not one of these anti-porn people. I'm not here to judge. I'm just a scientist. I'm reporting I always say I'm not a doctor. I don't prescribe things. I'm a professor, so I profess things. You can decide what you want to do with it or not. But once you understand dopamine, that all makes perfect sense. They're getting this enormous dopamine release from something that is external to them, and real life, may not mimic the intensity of the combination of variables, right? Mm-hmm. Or people are exercising for a little while and it's all exciting to them, and they're taking tons and tons of pharmacology to do it, and then they kind of lose motivation. Well, remember, non-infinite yet renewable resource. They're getting this enormous dopamine release from something that is external to them, and real life, may not mimic the intensity of the combination of variables, right? Mm-hmm. Or people are exercising for a little while and it's all exciting to them, and they're taking tons and tons of pharmacology to do it, and then they kind of lose motivation. Well, remember, non-infinite yet renewable resource. Pornography, it creates a strong dopamine rush. These are very primitive pathways that in some ways can overwhelm the dopamine system. Dopamine, it is a non-infinite yet renewable resource. What do I mean by that? Just as adrenaline, epinephrine, is released in response to psychological stressors, physical stressors, cold water, final exams, broken relationship, excitement. These are generic molecules, right? I mean, they're used to create activation states in the body. Dopamine is the molecule of motivation, pursuit, and desire. If you have too big a dopamine release, for instance, after a big win, sometimes we feel a crash and we need some time to reset. And that low or depression, sometimes people make the mistake of going out and pursuing more dopamine. We all should guard our dopamine peaks very carefully. A little bit goes a long way, a lot goes even further, but it also takes you down deeper afterwards. This is the basis of addiction.
How porn changes brain chemistry. Just like heroin or cocaine, porn releases a surge of feel-good neurotransmitters like dopamine in the brain. A dependency on pornography develops when the brain can no longer handle the flood of chemicals. The chemical release from consistent healthy activities becomes minimal over time. When the person goes too long without seeing pornographic content, they may experience feelings of depression or unease. In a recent podcast by Chris Williamson, Dr. Andrew Huberman emphasizes how serious porn addiction really is. Check this out.
But the idea here is that, I'm not saying pornography as a stimulus is bad or good. What I'm saying is in its availability and its extreme forms, it's a very potent stimulus, and very potent stimuli of any kind, extremely palatable food, extreme pornography, extreme experiences like bungee cord jumping, those set a threshold for dopamine release. And Anna will tell you that, and I'm sure she did, that the higher the dopamine peak, the bigger the drop afterwards. And it's not that you drop to baseline, you drop below baseline. So again, these things aren't good or bad, they just have to be controlled in a way, because when people are pursuing dopamine peaks over and over and over, and they aren't getting them, typically it's because they've been pursuing that activity far too often.
How porn addiction gets worse. When we experience a shock or surprise, our brains react by releasing certain hormones. That's why a lot of regular porn viewers want more extreme content. In addition, many of them have to mix sexual desire with the sentiments of aggressiveness, since they have developed such a high tolerance to the porn they've been viewing. This explains why so much hardcore porn contains violence against women. Approximately 56% of men in a 2012 study of 1,500 indicated they have increasingly severe or deviant interests in porn over the previous year. The brains of regular porn viewers adapt fast, forcing them to seek ever more explicit versions of sexually provocative entertainment. Porn addiction is one of the serious and fast-spreading problems affecting the health of billions worldwide. To effectively quit porn, you need a companion like Blocker X. Blocker X is a complete system that helps you quit porn. It's very hard to quit porn when you are surrounded by people who think it's normal to watch it. That's where the Blocker X community can help you stay motivated. It has over 100,000 active members who are all trying to overcome porn. The most common problem with other blockers is that they can be uninstalled easily. With Blocker X, you can't uninstall it unless permitted by your buddy. You can also block unlimited websites, apps, and keywords, and also access courses to help you on your journey. Blocker X is also a one-stop solution to quit all tech addictions like social media, gambling, gaming, etc. at just $2.99 per month per blocker. I strongly suggest getting Blocker X Premium. Use my promo code SS20 to get 20% off on premium annual purchases. You can also get lifetime access at 70% off in the link provided in the pinned comment in the description. In a podcast with Chris Williamson, Dr. Andrew Huberman explains how pornography affects your sexual arousal. Check this out.
The brain is a learning prediction machine. And if I'm not trying to say that all pornography is bad, but there are good data to support the idea that if your brain learns to be aroused by watching other people have sex, it is not necessarily going to carry over to the ability to get aroused when you're one-on-one with somebody else, right? Especially young kids who are consuming a lot of pornography, the brain is learning sexual arousal to other people having sex.
So you're going to program yourself into being a voyeur?
Or just create challenges in sexual interactions with peers, with a real partner.
There is a neutral circuit known as the reward route in the human brain. It functions to release feel-good hormones whenever you engage in an activity that the brain finds rewarding. Unfortunately, there are ways to manipulate the reward system. Just as drugs like cocaine and meth cause intoxication by stimulating the release of neurotransmitters in the brain's reward system, so too can exposure to porn. New neutral connections are formed in the brain as a result of the flood of chemicals. Eventually, the porn user will return to the activity that first triggered the chemical release. The more pornography media is seen, the more strongly associated neutral pathways are connected to the brain. In Mark Bell's Power Project podcast, Dr. Andrew Huberman also explains how the effect of porn addiction is closely related to drugs. Check this out.
So I think pornography is a serious issue. And because of the way that it taps into these very primitive systems, it's as serious in my mind as some of the other drugs of abuse, like the opioid crisis. And talked about cell phones. You ever notice that when you get on a phone and you're scrolling Instagram, it's like a lot of fun, like this stuff is cool, you're seeing people, and then sometimes you're on there and like, this doesn't feel good, but I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just doing it. That's exactly how people talk about their drug use. That's exactly how people talk about alcohol use. That's exactly how people talk about gambling. You imagine this high, but the high doesn't show up, and that's you're dopamine depleted. You need to take some time away from it and then come back and then you can enjoy it again.
Most importantly, Elon Musk, CEO of SpaceX and Tesla, advised young people to have a positive effect on the world, to help their fellow humans, and to make positive net contributions to society.
Try to be useful. Do things that are useful to your fellow human beings, to the world. It's very hard to be useful. Very hard. Are you contributing more than you consume? Try to have a positive net contribution to society. I think that's the thing to aim for. If you can live a useful life, that is a good life. A life worth having lived. And like I said, I would encourage people to use the mental tools of physics and apply them broadly in life. They're the best tools. But I'd encourage people to read a lot of books. Basically, try to ingest as much information as you can, and try to also just develop a good general knowledge. So you at least have like a rough lay of the land of the knowledge landscape. Try to learn a little bit about a lot of things, because you might not know what you're really interested in. How would you know what you're really interested in if you at least aren't like doing a peripheral exploration of broadly of the knowledge landscape, and talk to people from different walks of life and different industries and professions and skills and occupations. Like, just try learn as much as possible.
Thank you for watching the video. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and watch the next video chosen for you.